The one and only Suzanne Collins just released my most anticipated read of the year. Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel if you're not new here. If you are new here, hello, I'm Amelia and I'm an aspiring author. And yes, Suzanne Collins just released Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the second prequel to the Hunger Games series, which of course we all know and love. And I do not have the book in my possession quite yet. We will be picking it up in this video, but I do have her other Hunger Games novels here on my bookshelf. So yes, I have the hardback covers of all the books, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, which are out of order. And then The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, of course, is the first prequel, which is about President Snow. Yeah, you could say I'm a fan. Suzanne Collins is probably my most favorite author, actually. So, of course, I have to have all the hardback copies, and we will be picking up Sunrise on the Reaping today. But yeah, let me put these back on my bookshelf. So yes, growing up in the era of dystopian literature, and by that I mean like Divergent, there was The City of Ember, which is a classic that I don't hear people talk about too much. The Maze Runner, obviously, and then the second and third parts of the Giver trilogy. The Hunger Games was definitely a very formative series for me and was actually the book that made me like fall in love with reading as a teenager. And even today as an adult, I still think about the Hunger Games all the time. And Suzanne Collins is an author that I really respect, especially, you know, she is very much known for her emotional complexity within her characters and also the social and political themes within her books. So yeah, she's really inspiring for me and I very much respect her work as a writer, especially her political commentary. And if you don't know, if you're new here, I am actually currently writing my own book, which is titled Aeternum, and it is a fantasy novel with lots of political themes. Hence my love for the Hunger Games, also found family and romance, of course. So yeah, I figured in this video I would try out Suzanne Collins' writing routine while working on my novel. Obviously, The Hunger Games is not really a fantasy novel, but since they do share such similar social and political themes, I thought it would be fun to try her writing routine and see if it works while writing my novel. So let's talk about what Suzanne Collins' writing routine actually is. Now, let me pull up this interview that I found. This source is very old and like somewhat sketchy, so I don't know if this is really what she does, but nevertheless, I thought it would be fun to try. So, okay, in this interview with The Reading Zone, in January 2009, they asked Suzanne Collins about the Hunger Games, her writing process, and all of her work that she did planning the novel. And one of the questions was, how do you typically spend your workday? Do you have a routine as you write? And she answered, I grab some cereal and sit down to work as soon as possible. The more distractions I have to deal with before I actually begin writing, the harder focusing on the story becomes. Then I work until I'm tapped out, usually sometime in the early afternoon. If I actually write 3 to 5 hours, that's a productive day. Some days, all I do is stare at the wall. That can be productive too if you're working out character and plot problems. The rest of the time, I walk around with the story, slipping in and out of my thoughts. So this interview was the only source I could find about Collins' writing routine. And you know, it's not much, but I'll take whatever I can get. So yeah, I actually never eat cereal. So the other day when I went grocery shopping, I picked up a box of cereal that I thought I would like. So we are going to start this video by eating some cereal, I guess, and then getting straight into writing. She said that a productive day is between 3 to 5 hours. Now, I probably have never written more than an hour straight because that's crazy, but I do want to give this whole routine justice, so I'm going to try to write for 4 hours straight, kind of right in the middle of what she says is a productive day. We'll see, but I am really going to challenge myself to write the full 4 hours. And then after writing, I think I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a hard copy of her new novel. My goal is to try and finish the whole book in one day because it's been a minute since I've been able to just like read an entire book in one day. And I feel like of any of the books I really want to do that with, this is the one that I'm like really determined to do that. So, okay, enough talking. I'm starving, so I'm really actually looking forward to eating, and then we'll just get into writing. Things are really picking up in my book, let me tell you, and I did actually decide to change my entire magic system. So yeah, it's very chaotic, but things are happening. So okay, let's go eat some cereal for breakfast. Hello, welcome to my writing desk. This is where I will literally be writing for 4 hours today. So yeah, but I think something is missing. That just feels right, you know? I feel like her books have to be here. Anyway, I made myself a bowl of cereal and I added some fruit because if I just eat cereal, I'm gonna be hungry again in like 30 minutes. So yeah, but now the next step is just to get to writing. So I'm gonna sit here, eat my cereal, and I also need to grab my coffee that I made. Yeah, I'm gonna get to working on my novel. So let's start this challenge. I'm gonna set a 4-hour timer. Yeah, I'll just check in with you throughout. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to write a lot of words, honestly. Hopefully I can write like 4,000 words, 1,000 words an hour. I think that's reasonable. And also, I did braid my hair like Katniss today. I felt like I had to do that. So very much giving Suzanne Collins vibes. Okay, enough talking. Let's get into writing. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I did just spill my coffee everywhere. Go ahead and roll the clip. I was reaching for my journal to take some notes and I dumped my coffee all over my desk. Yeah, literally my worst nightmare happened. That is like the worst possible thing that could happen. The positive thing is that my computer is okay. I'm gonna restart the timer because I feel like that was definitely a huge distraction. That was not supposed to happen. And I didn't do any writing, obviously. So I'm gonna restart this timer and we're gonna get back to writing, and I no longer have a cute writing pad on my desk, but like I said, at least my computer is okay. I'm gonna restart the timer and we're gonna get back to doing some writing. I cannot believe I did that. I hate when I do stuff like that, you know? Let's get back to writing. Okay, so I just successfully finished the first hour and I ended up writing, let me check. I wrote 764 words, which isn't the 1,000 I wanted to write, but it's still a lot and I'm always just happy when I write something. So yeah, the first hour has been pretty easy to just write and stay focused. I still have 3 hours left of writing to do, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm happy with what I wrote and I actually just finished a chapter, so I'm going to start the next chapter now. And yeah, I think I'm gonna move from my desk over to the couch just for a little bit of change of scenery, and also I kind of want to be cozy. So yeah, I'm gonna keep writing and let's move over to the couch. Okay, so I just finished the second hour of writing and I gotta be honest, I'm starting to get tired. Let me check how many words I wrote. Okay, so the total word count was 657 words. Yeah, I'm starting to get tired and my brain is starting to get tired, so it makes sense that my word counts are getting lower, but I think I'm gonna take a break from just strictly writing and do a little bit of brainstorming. I basically decided recently that I'm going to rewrite and restructure my whole magic system because the one I had before just wasn't really making sense, and I also just didn't really like it, so it wasn't really fun to write about. But I'm gonna be changing my magic system, so I'm gonna do some brainstorming. I always start brainstorming by making a Pinterest board. So I'm gonna do that, and then I will probably write out some brainstorming and just kind of figure some things out because I need a break from writing. I don't know if Suzanne Collins writes for 4 hours straight, no breaks. I have to imagine like that she takes breaks, but I know that if I just keep writing right now, it's not gonna be very good and I'll probably just delete everything anyway. So I'm gonna do something a little bit more productive. But overall, I've written a lot today. And I've written a lot in a short period of time, which is good. It is hard for me to keep track of total word counts because I write in Google Docs and every chapter is a separate tab. So I can't just like click the whole word count. So I will add them up and put the total word count at this point while editing. Yeah, I'm really excited to do some brainstorming because I love my new magic system that I came up with, and I'm excited to kind of think about it a little bit more. And I do need to go back and change some things that don't match the new magic system. Yeah, Suzanne Collins, if you write for 4 hours straight, girl, that's impressive because my brain is basically mush at this point. But yeah, I'm gonna just keep going, and I do technically still count brainstorming as writing. So I'm gonna count it. Okay, let's do some brainstorming. Okay, so it has officially been 3 whole hours of working on my novel, and I ended up making a cute little Pinterest board for my magic system to just kind of better visualize what I want it to look like. And then I also made a map for my book because I've been struggling to contextualize the environment, and also when my characters are talking about where they're from, it's kind of hard for me to think about what area they're talking about. So yeah, I made a map and it's definitely a draft. I think I'm gonna redraw it and think about it a little bit more, but I am really happy that I put that together because I've been wanting to do that for a while. But yeah, I know I said I was gonna do 4 hours of writing, but it's getting kind of late in the day. It is 2:30 and I really want to start reading Sunrise on the Reaping, and since I have to go out and buy it, I'm gonna cut the writing part short, but that's fine because she did say that she writes between 3 and 5 hours and that's a productive day for her. So I'm gonna say I did a good job and I am really happy about what I wrote, and I do feel like if I wrote for another hour it wouldn't be very good. My brain is definitely very tired and ready to move on to something else. Yeah, but let's talk about her writing routine and my thoughts on how Suzanne Collins writes. So yeah, I mean, it's very simple. It's just, her writing routine is that she writes basically, and I kind of love that. I almost always write super early in the morning. I wake up at 6 a.m. to write, and that for me is just the best time of the day to just start writing when my brain is fresh and full of new ideas. So yeah, I definitely relate with Suzanne that it's best to get to writing first thing in the morning. I did start writing a little bit later today than I usually would. So I think next time if I did this, I would just start at my usual time at 6 a.m. And I think that would be better because I don't know why, but 6 a.m. is just like the best hour for me. But yeah, it's very simple. She just eats and gets right to writing. And I appreciate that. And I think simplicity sometimes is key when it comes to writing. So yeah, and obviously she knows what she's doing. And I've said this before, I think the best way to write a book is to write it. Like, I know that sounds kind of reductionist, but it is really just about sitting down every day and writing as much as you can. And that's really how you get to the last page of your book. So I really liked this writing routine, and I'm so excited to read her new novel. So let's head out and pick up Sunrise on the Reaping. And then I really want to go pick up a matcha. It's been a minute since I've sat down and done some reading at a coffee shop. Usually I write, so it's gonna be really fun. And from what I've heard already, people are saying that this is her best book, so that's really high praises. My personal favorite right now, before having read her new novel, is Mockingjay. Katniss's development in Mockingjay is just next level. Very, very inspiring as a writer. So, okay, enough talking. It's time to get into reading, so let's head to Barnes & Noble. Hello, I just got home from the coffee shop and Bean is here, but I wanted to sit down and catch up about progress and talk about my thoughts about the book so far before I lose the sunlight. So yeah, I went to Barnes & Noble and picked up the book, as you saw, and I also got these sticky notes. I guess they're not actually sticky notes, like annotation things. Of course, the color palette matches, which is very important. But yeah, I've just been kind of using these to mark the parts that I really like, or like the writing that I think is really well done, or just interesting parts that I want to be able to go back to easily. Yeah, I spent about 2 hours at the coffee shop. I ended up ordering a chai, and so far I am on chapter 6. I just started chapter 6, so yeah, I am 76 pages in, and I am really loving it so far. Suzanne Collins is just a master of characters. Like, she is somehow able to craft Haymitch as a child in a way that so perfectly foreshadows who he will become. And of course, I'm only at the very beginning, so, we'll see how things end up going throughout the book, but I can already tell this is going to be a phenomenal read. I'm really liking it. And I wanted to read some of the sections that I annotated. So if you don't want any spoilers or to even hear any of the book, you can skip to this timestamp, but I do want to read some of the parts that I just thought were super, super well written. One of my favorite excerpts from the beginning is on page 20, and it says, "A lemon yellow officer's jacket with matching thigh-high boots and a tall hat with a visor brim. Feathers fan out from the top of the hat, making her look like a deranged daffodil. No one laughs, though, because here she's the face of evil." The contrast there between what she's wearing being so almost joyful and almost laughable, with the, of course, tone of the whole capital, and just the construction of the tone is just always so well done. She is so good at showing rather than saying, and I really respect that. But yeah, I really liked that quote. And then I'm gonna read this one, which is actually like a song, and it reads, "The law demands that we atone when we take things we do not own, but leaves the lords and ladies fine who take things that are yours and mine." Yeah, I'm not usually one who likes songs in books, actually. For some reason, I just don't usually connect with them. I don't know why. Like, sometimes I just feel like they're kind of off-putting. Here, I just feel like so well done, and her lyrics to the songs are always so poignant. So gosh, I don't know, I am really liking this, and I really want to finish it tonight. My goal is to finish tonight, so I probably will stay up late into the evening to finish, but so well written. I'm really liking it. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep annotating, and I'm not leaving any notes on the annotations. I just kind of wanted to put a sticky note on all of the quotes that I really like. And yeah, I kind of just like to do that because I want to be able to look back at the things that I resonated with. So yeah, I'm just annotating for fun, and so good so far. I'm like ready to get back into it right now. But I am starving, so I'm gonna eat dinner, and then I'm just gonna get right back into reading. And also, the cover, I love the purple. I think it's really good. I will probably check back in with you guys when I'm like halfway through. But the goal is to finish tonight, no matter how late I have to stay up. I am dedicated. Okay, so I officially just got to part 2, and Hamish just had a crazy conversation. If you happen to already have read this book, you'll know. But I do have to say, after having read Snow's prequel, it is really different reading about him in this book. And also, I feel like she was very strategic with the order of releasing these prequels, because, I don't know, in my head it just makes so much sense reading this with all the characters and like the time period and the ages of all the characters. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading, and then I'll check back in once I get to the halfway point.
This one? Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. So we got this one yet? Or sweet. Oh, green tea. Yeah. Green black herb.
It says Danish on my machine, but machine is lying.
Hi. It has been a couple days since I finished Sunrise on the Reaping, but I wanted to give myself enough time to really think about and process the book before giving you my final thoughts. But now, after spending a couple days thinking about the book, boy, do I have a lot to say about it. So let's chat about how I felt about Sunrise on the Reaping, and get yourself a little coffee or a snack. And yeah, I'm gonna clip this microphone to my shirt so that I can talk a little bit better. I never clip this microphone onto my shirt. I always hold it, so hopefully the audio still sounds okay. So yes, I did finish reading Sunrise on the Reaping in one day, which was definitely a crazy experience, but I definitely recommend. I felt like it was such a great way to get super immersed in the world, and just really enjoying the book all at once was really nice. So yes, let's talk about what I really liked about this novel. And if you don't want any spoilers, click off this video, read the book, and then come back and we can chat together about the novel. So this book is specifically about Haymitch, who was Katniss's mentor in the original Hunger Games novel, and it centers around his childhood and his experience in his Hunger Games, where he won the games. And I would say the main focus of this novel is definitely Haymitch's childhood, obviously, but then even more so his character development as a child into the adult Haymitch that we see in Katniss's Hunger Games. And the novel does also focus a good amount on the Capitol, Snow, and a lot about the propaganda that the Capitol uses to manipulate the districts. So yeah, this book is definitely filled with a lot of loss and heartbreak. Let's talk about how I felt about it. So I would say my most favorite part about this novel has to be Suzanne Collins' writing. She just has such a unique writing style and writing cadence that I really enjoy. And I think that's why it was so easy for me to read in one night, because she has a very quick cadence that focuses on getting through the scene pretty quickly. Like from the start of the paragraph to the end of the paragraph, the characters could be doing completely different things. And I really like that. And while I personally definitely do not write like that, I definitely have much slower scenes, and I think that's more typical to fantasy. I think it really works for a book like The Hunger Games, which is very focused on action and really character-centered, I would say, more than anything else. And honestly, I would say this is her best written novel yet. The Mockingjay has always been one of the best written novels that I've read, at least, just because of the character development in Katniss, and also everything that happens with Peeta in that novel, and of course the writing of the propaganda from the Capitol in that novel is so well done and just so gripping. It's like you're holding on to the edge of your seat the entire novel. But I have to say, I think that this novel may be better written than any of her other books. I just felt like it was so masterfully done, and gosh, Suzanne Collins is just a phenomenal writer, and I think the popularity around the Hunger Games and the whole premise and her books really speaks to that. So I loved the writing. I also really loved Haymitch as a character. I thought everything that Collins did in this novel made sense in terms of his character development and who we see him as a child. He was definitely more like sweet and empathetic and kind of lighthearted, I would say, as a child than I was expecting. But I think that that is such a genius way to approach this character development, because it really shows the true depth of the loss and heartache that Haymitch experiences in this novel, and just kind of as a person living in District 12 and being subject to the oppression of the Capitol. And so I think it just makes sense that Haymitch would be such a kind and sweet kid, and everything that happens to him, meaning the loss of his mom and Sid and Lenore, obviously, which is just devastating. And I was definitely crying when I read the scene of him getting back to District 12 and his house being on fire. I actually didn't think that that was coming, and I know a lot of people are saying that that was like predictable, and of course Snow would do that, but I actually didn't see it coming, and so it was pretty devastating. So yeah, overall I thought Haymitch as a character was super well done, and I really loved his character development. I also really loved how Collins used Haymitch sort of as a foil to Katniss, or I guess maybe the other way around, and that they're actually really similar and have a lot of similar things happen to them. When Katniss goes to the Hunger Games, she is not the person that was originally reaped. Same here with Haymitch. They both leave behind a younger sibling and a mother. And then obviously Plutarch, who I thought was a fantastic addition to this novel, sees that like rebellious spark in the both of them. I just thought it was brilliant, and I think it gives so much explanation as to why Haymitch decides to help Katniss and sees the potential for her to be like the leader of a rebellion. And I think also why he just has such a soft spot for her in the Hunger Games novels. And then of course, let me flip to it. Reading the epilogue where Collins talks about Haymitch and kind of his view on Katniss. You see, first of all, why he called Katniss sweetheart in the Hunger Games, which is just devastating. Like, I cannot believe Suzanne Collins. She literally is genius and is so good at tugging at those like really deep parts of your emotions. And so yeah, we see in the epilogue, which I think was definitely needed for this book to kind of round out Haymitch's whole story, just kind of his progression. And I think we see kind of how he returns to his softness that he had as a child, which I think is really important, and I really liked reading that. And then I also really loved the character additions of Plutarch, Mags, Wyrus, Beetee, and Effie. I know that she was probably kind of catering to her fans there, but I actually thought that Plutarch's addition was really important overall for the integrity of the story, and I think brought even more detail and explanation to the original Hunger Games novel. And so I thought his addition was important, and I really liked it. And I really hope the next prequel is about Plutarch. I think that makes the most sense, and I just need to be inside Plutarch's mind and see what he's thinking, because he is such a unique character, and I would just love to hear more about his backstory. Loved Plutarch. I really liked Effie. I know a lot of people are kind of saying that it was unnecessary, and while I do see that point of view, I think that seeing how she knew Haymitch before all of the devastation in his life really helps to explain why she sticks with him and why she has such a soft heart for him, and why they have such a good, I guess, friendship in the Hunger Games novels. So I really liked Effie's addition, and yeah. Overall, I thought this book was absolutely genius. Suzanne Collins is the writer of my generation, and I don't say that lightly as a writer. I genuinely think Suzanne Collins is just genius, and I loved this book. Now, there were two things that I kind of thought could have been left out from the book, but of the whole novel, two things is like, you know, it's really just subjective. So, but I would say the two things that I didn't particularly like were a couple of Collins references back to some of the things that we saw in the original Hunger Games novels. So there's a part where Haymitch just had like a super intense scene and he says, "Fire is catching." And that, of course, is a reference to Katniss's quote in The Mockingjay. And I don't know, I felt like that was definitely catering to her fans, and while I see like the point of putting it in, I just kind of felt like that was Katniss's line and it had to stay Katniss's line, and I think adding it to this novel kind of retrospectively, I guess, takes away some of the anger and like true force behind Katniss saying that. So I didn't really like that. And then again, after a really intense scene, Haymitch sits in some Katniss, which of course is a reference to Katniss. And I just felt like the scene that comes before that is so intense, and just having Katniss in that scene feels like it really takes away from what had just happened in the book. And I also think it just wasn't needed. Like in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the reference to Katniss is actually really important to Snow's whole backstory and why he has such a tenuous and hateful feeling towards Katniss in the Hunger Games. So it makes total sense why it's in this book, and I felt like it was a good addition to this book and it made sense, but I kind of felt like in Sunrise on the Reaping, it just wasn't really needed, and I didn't really like that it was in there. So yeah, but overall, of the prequels, this is by far the best, and honestly, I think her best written novel. I just felt like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was very different from the whole Hunger Games series and was kind of an outlier in terms of writing style, and the whole world obviously is very different. But I did love this book. I thought that Snow's character development was really well done, and he is awful. Like, he is the worst person ever, and that's the point. And so I think Collins did do a phenomenal job with this book as well, but I think Sunrise on the Reaping is definitely more well done and better situated in the whole Hunger Games sphere and story. And I think what's most important and most valuable is that while it tells Haymitch's story, it also brings so much more context to the original Hunger Games, and I really appreciated that and just loved this book. And there were so many phenomenal quotes, so well written. Like, let me read some of the quotes that I really loved from Sunrise on the Reaping. I literally have this one marked to show you guys. So this is on page 243, and it reads, "Hoping for something better could be dangerous. It could blind me to the reality of my situation. I remember how Mama always said, where there's life, there's hope. But from where I'm sitting, hope seems a lot like white liquor. It can fool you in the short run, but like as not, you'll end up paying for it twice." Like, oh my gosh, she is such a good writer. And there's so many quotes in here that are just like, I could talk about this book all day long. But yeah, that was another thing, like seeing Haymitch's evolution into his eventual alcohol abuse, I think was also really important and really well done. Like, we see that he went from never drinking, even though he literally like made alcohol, and often rejecting it, even when like Plutarch had all of this amazing alcohol, and we see like he only resorts to abusing alcohol after everything that Snow does to him. And I just feel like it's so devastating, and you just feel so awful for Haymitch, and the hatred towards Snow is just definitely very much intensified. So I loved this book. I'm like almost tempted to read it again. I'm just such a huge Hunger Games fan. The Hunger Games is just the novel that made me want to write about dystopian political systems and corruption and propaganda, which is so well done in this book with the posters and like the no capital, no peace is so brilliant. Yeah, The Hunger Games was just like one of the most important series in my life, and so I feel very grateful to have read this and to live at the same time that The Hunger Games was published. Yeah, I would say out of 5, I would give this book like 6 stars. I think it was honestly perfect. Despite my critiques, they are very subjective, and I'm sure many people will love them. But I would say like the writing and the plot and the character development and the richness that it adds to the original Hunger Games series is enough to make me say that this is a perfect novel. Yeah. Those are my thoughts on Sunrise on the Reaping. Now let's talk about how I felt about Collins' writing routine. Yeah, you know, I think it's all very silly, and I doubt that Collins still follows that writing routine today. I mean, that was a very old source that I was using, but you know, she may write for 4 hours straight. Like, I don't doubt that, especially because she's a seasoned author, and it's probably much easier for her to like focus and to write a lot in one session. But for me as a newbie writer, writing for 4 hours is definitely just not realistic. Yeah, I had a lot of fun trying her writing routine. If I were to do her writing routine again, I would definitely not spill my coffee on my computer, which, by the way, My computer is okay. I didn't spill that much coffee on my actual computer and I cleaned it up really quickly, so my computer is okay, so that's good. But yeah, definitely would not recommend doing that because that was a huge distraction and I had a really fun time trying it, and I just love Suzanne Collins and am so inspired by her. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and trying out Collins' writing routine as well as reading Sunrise on the Reaping. This was such a fun video to film. Usually I film writing vlogs, so this was very different for me. But yeah, thank you so much for coming along with me in trying out Collins' writing routine. And yeah, I'm gonna drink my coffee now. But thank you all so much for watching. It means so much to me that anyone watches my videos, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Okay, bye.